Hello, everyone, and welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone, and we have an absolutely jam-packed episode for you today. We've got a brand new Galactus list, a brand new 75% win rate stature list, weekend mission decks. We're going to talk about the new OTA and so much more, but I want to let you know that this is your last chance to enter the $1,000 Snap Grand Prix. This is $1,000 in prize support. All you have to do is join the Snap Judgments League Discord. It is completely free to join the Snap Judgments League Discord. This takes place April 27th. The Snap Judgments League is also taking place. It begins Monday, May 6th, $700 in prizes. The Snap Judgment League also has all your information on that. We'll get into much more detail about that next week once the Grand Prix is in the rear view. All right, the OTA. So the day after Red Hulk came out, literally, I believe the day after, it might have been 2 days after, it might have been the podcast, I said the nerf to Red Hulk's going to be he's a 6'8 or 6'9. The logic is exactly as it always is. When Second Dinner changes cards, the way they always change cards is, or the way they prefer to change cards, is to lower the floor while keeping the ceiling high. So it's more likely to lose you a game because it didn't get pumped, but when it goes off, it still goes completely off. That's completely fine. I still think Red Hulk is probably the best 6 in the game, but I think he's a far more balanced best 6 in the game. He also, because he's still +4, maintains the ability to be that trick play at the end of the game. That's how I like to use him, where your opponent should run if they can't beat a Red Hulk, right? But you then don't play Red Hulk if they stay because you know they can beat it, and you figure out how they would beat it and play around it. There are 3 other changes that I have one classification for. They are Jean Grey becoming a 3/4, Stature becoming a 5/7, and Jane Foster becoming a 5/9. All 3 of these changes, to me, are still the game being rebalanced in the wake of Shang-Chi, changing from killing 9 power things to 10 power things. Fundamentally, every power cost, what every power means, is balanced around that ability, and when that ability changed, a lot more cards need 1 extra power. They've been slowly going through those cards and giving that 1 extra power, so Jean is now a 3/4, Stature is a 5/7, and Jane is a 5/9. Obviously, this makes all these cards better than they were yesterday, before this update, but this is more the power level they should be to be competitive. Jean is still going to be niche, great when she's great, but mostly not exactly what you want to be doing. Stature has always been a great card. Stature and Black Bolt, like Legion, are cards that are extremely powerful that don't always show up in the meta. And Jane's just going to win slightly more, right? Like, she's not significantly better, but she's a little better. The other changes are US Agent, fresh out of Spotlights. It now gives -4 power instead of -3 power. This is going to need testing. This might be a big difference because this is multiplied across 2 or 3 negatives on the board. The Zabu change and change to Darkhawk really did hurt US Agent, as there's less expensive stuff in any given lane. So we'll see if this is enough. It's entirely possible it is. He was not bad before. Unfortunately, now to get him, you have to spend tokens, which is a problem that we're going to discuss on the podcast. That as soon as I'm done recording this, I'm going to report the podcast with the great Lauren Whatevs, with Joe from Snap Decisions and Gunny T. We'll talk about this OTA, and I want to talk about what to do about the problem with cards like US Agent. However, people act like this is a thing that happens all the time. I can remember it really happening 2 other times, like in a relevant way, in a way that made the card really good. It happened with Black Knight, and then a month later, Black Knight was in Spotlights, and it happened with Gladiator. And it would happen with Gladiator, it was like 2 or 3 months, and that was actually really frustrating. So, it's not a common problem, but it is still a problem that should be addressed. Finally, we have Mantis, who was utterly useless as a 2/2, just straight up worse than a million things. Now it's a 1/2. I don't think it's much better, but it might potentially now have a home in Bounce. Bounce doesn't hate the idea of playing this, getting a free card, bouncing it, getting another free card from the opponent's stuff. That could also have some utility with Quinjet Loki Bounce, which was a deck that existed for a little while. Is it going to? Nah, I would guess not. But like, it's entirely possible. It's something to mess with that's different, so I'm not against the change. This is, to me, mostly a, honestly, fairly boring and inconsequential OTA. It's got 2 uses. Really, for me, it's going to remind people that Stature exists, and it's going to make people play less Red Hulk, because even if Red Hulk's not that much worse, people play cards that are slightly worse less often. All right, Red Hulk is a 6/9. Marvel Snap Zone takes a little while to update. Sorry. So Black Dama, you need to check him out. That's exactly his Twitter name. Go check him out on Twitter or X. As this video goes live, he's going to do a whole post explaining this as well. This deck is awesome. It's got some plays that you might not see immediately. I'm going to explain them to you as we go through the video. This is a straight up Galactus deck. It can win without Galactus because Professor X, Hobgoblin, and Red Hulk are extremely powerful. But this is a I want to win with Galactus deck with a combo. How consistent can you get that combo? Honestly, because, well, you really need plays on turn 3, 4, and 5 more than you think, but not like not like all the time. Cool. Let's get going. So again, twitter.com/BlackDama. Nebula and Martyr can be Iceman and Nightcrawler. You can mess with other ones, but like I like Iceman for disruption. I like Nightcrawler because what Martyr's really here for is Professor X, and Nightcrawler can hop into a Professor X lane and accomplish much of the same thing. Widow is amazing here. This is like one of the best like decks made specifically for Widow, because if you Widow one spot then Storm another, opponents will often have a hard time filling both of those locations with specific decks. But Medusa's fine because just Medusa's a lot of power. Jeff, Ravone, and War Machine are needed, as is Galactus. You'll see why as we go through the turn by turn. And Red Hulk can be Goliath, but you can try Doom or Magneto as well. Basically, you want something to try and lock up a lane after you've Professor X'd one lane to win it. So again, check Twitter to check out our friend Black Dama, who's doing content over on that app. I mean, look, if you don't have Twitter, please don't download Twitter for this, because it's a hell site of an app. But if you already have the damn app, well, support Black Dama because he's doing great stuff. All right, turn 1, you want Nebula over Martyr. As a general rule, you just want to get Nebula down. Turn 2, Ravonna is better than Widow, is better than Jeff. Ravonna is great because Professor X early or Hobgoblin early are incredibly strong. Turn 3 is Storm over a 2. Now, this is where it's important, right? You want to make sure that there's an empty lane for when you can Quake. You want to Quake in a lane that have stuff and leave that Storm lane in a place that both you and your opponent have as little power as possible. Because then if you Quake and leave that lane empty alone and Stormed, your Galactus should win you that lane. Good? How do you get into that lane? Nothing can be played there. That's where War Machine comes on. That's the play pattern here. So what you do is if you've got that nice empty lane or that lane where they don't have enough power to really compete, you storm over to that lane, right? So far so good. You storm that lane and now there's a nice empty lane. Turn 3, Storm. Turn 4, Quake, and whatever the hell else. Turn 5, you play War Machine into whatever lane, and then that stormed lane is now open only to you for you to drop Galactus and win. If they have Doom, you'll tie, but otherwise, you're in really great shape. If you don't get that play pattern going, you can always drop Professor X or Hobgoblin. If I have Martyr, I prefer Professor X and Martyr on 5, because 6 power for Professor X play is amazing. If not, Professor X on 4 is good. You just have to try and pick the right location. Sometimes you'll run. That's fine. Turn 5, War Machine if you have the free Storm lane after Quake. Martyr, Professor X, or Hobgoblin are totally fine. Turn 6 is either the free Galactus win or you drop the biggest card in the game. Is Red Hulk still the biggest card in the game? Borderline, right? Like, it's close. It's close enough. You don't have to skip a turn like for Infinite, and you don't have to force yourself to play War Machine if you need Professor X for that play. So I think Red Hulk is still the right decision for this deck. One last look at this deck. This is a thing of beauty. Black Dama has been coming up with some of the coolest Galactus lists in all of Marvel Snap. So if you are a Galactus fan or you just want to try some really cool lists, you should play this deck. All right, please hit sub, like, and comment. We bring you at least 3 new decks every single weekday. We cover all the Marvel Snap news, everything you need from Marvel Snap, including bundles. Yes, we're doing a bundle guide before the end of this video. Make sure you're subbed so you don't miss out on the best and most consistent Marvel Snap content. If you're already subbed, do me a favor, like, comment, watch the video for as long as you can, or let it play through when you've got the stuff you want, because it really does help us grow as a channel. It tells YouTube to show us to more people, and that helps. We'd really, really appreciate it. We're almost halfway to 11,000. Let's keep it going. Let's get to 11,000 subs. All right, worth knowing, if you haven't logged in yet, there are login rewards. This is day 1 as of this video being posted, so please log in. 400 credits is a ton. Day 2 and 6 or whatever, but they're boosters, but you need to log in every day because 500 gold, 400 boosters, and 2 variants await you. This is the best login rewards they've ever done. one would assume this relates in a PR way to their somewhat negative, the negative way US Agent was rolled out. But yeah, this is still really cool. This is like fantastic rewards. It's 500 gold, then another at least 1400 worth of gold. Sorry if you can hear the frying. My wife is finishing cooking. And then you've got 400, which is a really good amount of credits. So this is very, very cool. All right, so someone has been complaining, I actually lost the name, I'm sorry, about turn-by-turn in videos being idealized, and yes, that's absolutely clear. That is, you are not going to see this every game, but what this does is it allows you to know the baseline of what your deck is trying to do. It allows you to know that when your deck is missing all of these plays, right, that you probably need to run. You're going to have to alter. This isn't meant to be an advanced guide, it's meant to teach you the basics of playing a deck for you to alter and work from. Lambie once said something along the lines of, you must know what your deck can output to know what you need to do, so when you can determine when to stay and go. Because, okay, so someone messaged me earlier and they were like, but I keep losing 1 cube. Losing 1 cube is a victory. The more you think of losing 1 cube as a loss, the harder Marvel Snap is. If the best decks, once you get a large enough sample, tend to win a little around the general vicinity of 60% of their games. If those, let's say you play 10 games, if your wins are for 2 and your losses are for 1, you are ridiculously ahead, versus if you're losing 2 and gaining 2 every time, right? That's what these allow you to do. They allow you to go, I'm not seeing my thing, I should go. The other thing they really allow you to do is, there are some decks that really want Hope on 3. There's some decks where Hope on 3 is a luxury that the deck doesn't need. There's some decks that would play Ravonna on 3 over Hope on 3 for specific reasons, right? That kind of thing is what it's trying to let you know. It's trying to say, if you have these things on curve and you have multiple options, which should you generally be looking for? Enough people have hit infinite watching these videos that I know the value, but for anyone who is curious or concerned or doesn't understand that, I thought it was worth letting you know. Jack Skellington asks if the Spotlight duplicate system is fair and how I would change it. Okay. So the problem no, it's not fair. Let's get that out of the way at the front, but I'm going to explain why it exists. The problem and the reason that this exists is players like me, players like, I don't know, pick a content creator, right? Pick a Twitter whale, pick whatever. Have 60,000 tokens and every new card. We have 15 to 20 Spotlight caches, if not more than that, saved. I know someone that has 50 Spotlight caches saved. So they're trying to create a system that doesn't make the whales stop spending. That's not great for the lower value players. However, there is, to the best of my knowledge still to this day, no game that is better for free or $10 a month as far as getting you most of the cards, getting you most of what you want in order to compete in Marvel Snap. Marvel Snap. The downside of that is the duplicate system is really shitty for that extra card. I assume that is at some point going to be changed. My hope is it's changed by summer. If not by fall at like the latest, this should be changed. They know it makes people unhappy, even though it's not a terrible reward. Generally speaking, I'd if I were lower collection level and I had a choice between a variant or 1,000 tokens, I'd take 1,000 tokens 100% of the time. But it feels bad, and because it feels bad, it's probably not worth it, because you don't want to give someone something better and then make them mad about it. No XCD thinks the only way to succeed in the game is to spend, and I don't know. The December #1 player, Zuns, is completely free to play, hasn't spent a dime, hasn't had anyone buy a season pass. I know this because I literally messaged Zuns and was like, dude, I'll just buy you a season pass if it's difficult in your part of the world, and like, just, I don't care, like, you can have it. And he was like, no, I'm happy being free to play. Cool, no problem, obviously, right? But like, free to play player #1 in the world. One of KM Best mods has hit #1, and Lambie's mods has hit #1 with only buying season pass. I know numerous players, specifically, usually but not always, on the Asian server and occasionally on the American server, who rank in the top 10 to 20 while being almost entirely free to play. If you think you have to spend to compete in Marvel Snap, that is not true. What you need to do to compete in Marvel Snap is use your resources extremely wisely and carefully with a plan. No matter how much you spend, having a plan is really, really useful. Figuring out what you want to do and how you want to do it is really, really useful. and you need to make sure you're completing your daily missions. What Marvel Snap wants from you more than anything else is for you to complete every single daily mission every single day. And if you're not willing to do that, or you're not willing to spend, and you don't want to plan, it's probably not the game for you. Matt Lawson asks how I determine what decks to feature and if they're guaranteed bangers. All right, here's my base. I have this list in this document. It's called my sleeper deck doc. On it, I have 50 different content creators, Twitters, and YouTubes linked, so that when I can't find a deck, I just go there. The people whose decks I feature are, generally speaking, top 100-ish players, proven deck builders who've broken the meta before. I mean, that's kind of it, right? And people, and occasionally, like, it'll be a deck that hasn't really been featured elsewhere, like Black Dama isn't a huge content creator, but A, he's someone I like a lot, and B, he's someone, when he posts a proven deck builder, a bunch of people post with their successes of that deck. Cool. The third thing is something that's a really high win rate from someone relatively unknown. I'm willing to do that as long as the sample size gets reasonably sized. I tend to look for, my hope is generally if the person doesn't have the proven track record of either being near the top of the infinite ladder or having the proven track record of decks, I try and look for about 40 games because I feel like at about 40 games, things start to stabilize and the numbers start to make more sense. That's how I choose. Is every deck a guaranteed banger? I mean, no. Everyone has different playstyles. I will occasionally post a list that the meta loves that some people are having great success with that I don't really like. That doesn't work for me. Doesn't work for the way I play. We all play differently. I think the deck is still really great in the right hands. I think every deck posted here, someone here can succeed with. I posted that Phoenix Force Living Tribunal deck, and I had a bunch of people be like, that's not for me. I can't win with it. I also have people in my DM saying that's the most broken thing they've ever played. They've never played one deck that often. It's all different for different people, but everything here, you're not going to get just random crap. I'm not giving you random decks. I'm saving the best decks from the best players. I think I have a proven track record. It's basically me and KM, right? Like in some order or another that gets you the most high ladder decks, period. No one gets as many top of the ladder decks as we do. And I think I'm ahead because KM tends to focus more on America as far as just like sheer number, not sleeping on his amazing content. But as far as sheer number, I reach out to top players. Right now, there's a top player whose name now escapes me. I went and found his username and sent him a message, and now I have his deck to feature on Sunday. He was number 1 a couple days ago, and like I do a lot of work to find you the best players, best decks. Hopefully you find value in that. If you don't, hey, every bit of content isn't for everybody, but I want to make sure that you always have something to do in this game. That's a big focus for me now because there's not a lot of game modes. So I want to make sure that as long as you have a reasonable collection, you always have something to do to help you enjoy Marvel Snap and be competitive because winning is a lot more fun than losing. Questions will be read out in Sunday's video if you are interested. If you want to leave some more for me. I'm almost out of questions again, so please leave some. All right, my friend Lil Robitussin brewed up this deck. Happy birthday, Robo. Robo's birthday was 4/24. Happy birthday, Robo. My co-host Roy's birthday is 4/25. We're going to do a happy birthday on the podcast thing, but I'm going to say happy birthday here for Roy as well. It was also Psychotic Wolf's birthday the same day as Robo, so happy birthday there too. But Robo, on his birthday, did this ridiculously long stream in which he won 70% of his deck games with 2 Infinity tickets. So hell yeah, that's a hell of a birthday stream, right? This is the deck that he used. It's a silky smooth deck. We've seen lots of variations on this, but A, because it's Robo's birthday, and B, because this is a proven win rate, right? 70% with 2 Infinity tickets. We're going to take a look at this specific version. I also like it because this version is like reasonably free to play friendly for what it is. Many people have Eliath because Eliath was one of the most broken cards in the game. Jeff is one of the most owned cards in the game. Silk was like a demand if you've been playing long enough and you could have just bought Hope. Which means Gladiator and Red Hulk are the like meh cards, but Red Hulk is completely replaceable. And Gladiator is a little tougher. I actually have something I want to say about that right on this slide as we get there. So you can find my friend Roby on twitch.tv/LilRobitussin1. Phenomenal person, really cool person. I think you'll like him if you go check him out. So Jeff and Silk can be Kitty, White Widow, Scarlet Witch, Medusa. Their use is Angela and Hope, and then being able to move off them. As long as you have something else that can do that, Kitty will cover for them. you're totally fine. I think that Silk is extremely underrated once you get used to knowing her, but that's neither here nor there. They are replaceable. I think for this deck, I'd really want either Jeff or Silk. You can do without one and then replace the other. Magneto can be Red Hulk. I don't even think that's much of a downgrade for this deck. I think it's worse, but not terribly worse. You can also, if you have Cannonball, throw Cannonball in there. Alioth is actually the secret sauce. It's how this wins. A lot of what this deck likes to do is throw something out early that your opponent can't really mess with, and then Alioth off the threat that someone tries to play against you. So Alioth is phenomenal here. He is incredibly hard to get rid of. You already have Shang-Chi, so you can't just be like, I'll throw Shang in and that'll do something remotely similar. No, you just gotta need Alioth. So Gladiator, you can try Ms. Marvel, you can try Omega Red. I think Gladiator has become one of the most important cards of the game because of the Zabu nerf. What used to happen is you would skip 3 and you'd be able to play 4s, like you'd be able to play a 4-10, a 4-7, a 4-8. But if you're going to play a 4-8, right, then you might as well just play the 3-8 Gladiator. And now you can't really play a 4-8. The 4s aren't ahead of Gladiator on rate. So why pay extra for a 4 when you have Gladiator? I think Zabu's nerf made Gladiator one of the most important cards of the game because there's no 3 that can compete with him, and now you're no longer skipping 3 for 4. Make sense? Again, you need Hope. Hope is, like, important here. So this is, again, 70% win rate, 2 Infinity tickets. Turn 1, Nightcrawler. Turn 2, I like Angela over Jeff over Silk. You want to get Angela down as soon as possible, not over Hope. Hope is, again, pivotal because playing both Red Hulk and Alioth, particularly Alioth to stop a Shang-Chi that the opponent's trying to use to just go over the top of you, is amazing. If you didn't have Hope, I like, generally speaking, getting Angela or Silk and a 1 down, because if I get that Silk to move, now I have Miles available for me for turn 4, so I can like Miles and Gladiator on turn 4. I can also get Angela down and with a 1, and then I've started that Angela thing, and if I don't have anything else to do on turn 4, I can drop my Gladiator on Angela on turn 4, and now I'm getting an extra power out of that Gladiator and Angela as well. Turn 4 is the combo of cheap stuff that I just explained, because you're just sort of trying to get into turn 5. Turn 5, you have 3 choices. They're Vision, Sandman, or Red Hulk. What you're doing for Red Hulk is you're trying to bait your opponent into a Shang-Chi. If you're ahead enough in other locations that you think they might give up, if you feel really strong that like they can't compete, you'll drop a Red Hulk and know that they're going to use a Shang-Chi to try and catch up, and that's when you play Alioth. Or a deck that you know for a fact doesn't run Shang-Chi, although those are rare and rare, something like Discard. If they're trying to drop wide, then Sandman is amazing, and if you don't have anything better to do, you just want to play a good card, Vision is fine. Be careful with Sandman because you don't always want to Sandman, but a reasonable play to end the game is Sandman on Hope, and then you have a 7 energy turn, and you can drop Vision and Jeff to end the game. Cool. Turn 6, Red Hulk or Alioth, or Shang-Chi plus whatever else you can. Shang-Chi plus Gladiator is a lot of power to end the game. Again, we're talking about Hope here. Shang-Chi and Jeff, Shang-Chi and Silk is often game-winning. But generally speaking, I find myself going with Red Hulk or Alioth in the games that I win most. Shang-Chi is your escape valve, your emergency play. And one last look at this one. Again, not a cheap deck, but not a super expensive one, with a lot of replaceable cards. That has, again, a proven win rate and 2 Infinity tickets to its name. Props to Roby for this really cool brew. Alright, time for weekend mission decks. We've got 2 more Zemo decks. He is finally going to be in weekend missions starting this week. We've got 3 White Widow decks. 1 was at the front of the video. 1 will be the last deck with a full guide in the video. And then we've got 1 more cool one. Then we've got 2 decks that have both Baron Zemo and White Widow if you want to just get these over with as fast as possible. Alright, so Myth, our friend Myth Snap, posted this weeks ago, and I've been saving this for Baron Zemo weekend mission because we've been featuring a lot of Loki decks. I'm going to feature a Loki deck that doesn't look dissimilar to this in a couple days, just because Loki is completely top of the meta. I won that conversation, huh, Den? So Loki is completely top of the meta right now. He is an incredibly powerful and cool card that's winning a lot. This is a nice simple Baron Zemo Loki. It doesn't even bother with Yondu, which I think is cool. It runs Cable. Myth has had more success with this than any other deck this season. It's a very simple and viable way to play Loki that is flexible and has a lot of cards you can change. As my cat decides to meow at my wife, if you heard that, he's just, he demanded attention, as the king often does. All right. Our friend Philip Rakovich, who you'll see has posted in a very low sample. This is why it's a weekend mission. Weekend mission decks tend to be less proven than our main decks, but there are ways to get those wins quickly and efficiently and have some fun in the process. So Philip Ratkovich, who you will see in our Patreon, has a stupid freaking win rate. I think it was 77% or something in a really low sample with this deck. I think this is stupidly fun. I played it for 2 or 3 games and had a blast. It's Baron Zemo Thanos, y'all. It basically says, well, Zemo and the stones can still make me a cheap Mockingbird. I can destroy those with Killmonger and Lady Deathstrike to give myself a cheap death. Shang-Chi's there, Gladiator's there for the cheap death. There's a million ways to get the cheap death. Yondu. I can steal your card, so I have your power, I have my power. I've messed up your stuff with Shang and Mobius, and then, I've got cheap Mockingbird and death. Opposing Mobius can even be Deathstrike away to make sure everything goes according to plan. You have an extra turn to get all this bullshit off with magic. This is a blast. If you want a fun deck for weekend missions, and you're willing to not put, I don't think White Widow belongs in this. So, and you're willing to do that separately, I strongly recommend you try this. I think that this is super cool. Next up, we have Good Dog Gamer, another of our friends. Good Dog Gamer has been featured and is a proven deck builder. When Good Dog Gamer posts a list, the list works. This is our extra White Widow list. It's nothing fancy, and we've seen enough similar things around the meta. I believe this is fairly similar to the Lambie version. I like the extra armor, which is why I decided to feature it, honest to God. I think that armor is really, really smart in this list because, I don't know if you've noticed, but Destroy is back. Yeah, you've seen the Destroy everywhere too, right? Yeah, I agree. So since Destroy is back, that armor is great. You don't want to armor the lane you're going to end up cannonballing, so you try and make sure that lane is otherwise filled, and then you're able to win with this list. Professor X and White Widow and Nebula in one lane is just so annoying and difficult to beat for most opponents. Next up, we have Den's Millshell. This is Den's, as of recording, yesterday's deck. Someone didn't like Den, which is ridiculous. Den's amazing. But someone was like, you featured Den because you work together. I was like, I don't know, man. I featured the Den list because, well, Den posts a list every day, and I rarely post Den. But, I featured a Den list, not because he's my friend, but because he has access to more data than basically anyone in the game. Unless you know the people who worked at Untap, Den is the person I know who has access to the most Marvel Snap data. And the version I posted of a White Widow deck from Den yesterday was the version of Marvel Snap Zone that had the highest win rate, which, I mean, makes it pretty frickin' proven. This one's more fun. Longtime viewers know my favorite thing to do in Marvel Snap is bounce. This is a lovely bouncy mill deck that runs both White Widow and Baron Zemo. It's a very cool list. I was going to feature it because I love this kind of list, but it doesn't. It's like a 56% win rate, which is pretty good, but not through the roof. So if you want to get those weekend missions done just right away with these two cards, this is a great way to do it. One more way, Owl God, famous Korean deck builder who's one of the best and most creative in the game, did something similar to that Thanos list, but without Thanos. And hey, guess what? If you don't run Thanos in that list, all of a sudden you have room for White Widow. A little bit of bounce for Beast, White Widow, Yondu, Cable. A little bit of Deathstrike for that death. Do you have a million things to kill? You need to get that Killmonger Deathstrike off, right? And you need your opponent to have some ones or to have played Debris, which isn't always ideal because, the Clog is nice with White Widow. But hey, there's some stuff to like here. There's some stuff to do here. I think this is really cool. I have not played this version. I played the Thanos version because I miss Thanos. That's not fair. I don't miss meta Thanos. I missed off meta Thanos. So now that I can play some janky ass Thanos builds again, I'm pretty happy. I will play this at some point, but Owl is again a proven excellent deck builder. So please give this deck a try. I don't think you'll be sad. Our friend Roby thinks Owl is the best deck builder in the game. I think Owl is the most creative deck builder in the game. I mean, look at this combination of cards. It's wild, right? Okay. This is a red one bundle. This is almost the exact same value as that other bundle I bought, the Doom bundle. It's double the price for the same value, right? You get the same at rate. It's the same value at rate. So if the other bundle costs $20, you would have to double it to be basically equivalent. It's fine. If you like this, this is fine. This is the bottom of acceptable. I am more likely to buy the $10 one because I think it is good to encourage them that if enough of us buy a $10 one, they release more $10 ones. If enough of us buy the $20 ones, they don't necessarily, they'll release more $20 ones, but hey, guess what? If the rate's going to be the same, I'd rather have more $10 bundles to choose from. All good? This is actually a reasonably cool title, though. So many red flags, and it's a cool variant. If you bought the Fiona Hesh, though, this is a much worse version of that bundle. like the one that had Carnage and Venom. We used to just get better bundles. I don't know what else to say. So if you want to, fine. I personally would suggest the Doom over it for the message it sends to Second Dinner, but they're on the same wavelength. They're basically the same idea. All right, our last deck is Ika's Anature. Dear new viewer, as my wife starts throwing things as I'm finishing a video. Ika's Anature is one of the most successful decks we've ever had on this channel. We had it. No one else talked about it. It was one of Ika's first big decks. Ika's an amazing, brilliant deck builder. And the deck popped the frick off. A ton of viewers, like for months, people were like, I just broke that out and hit infinite. Yeah, this deck has always been great. This version runs a ton of new cards. And hey, you know how many of them are needed? One. You need Annihilus for this list. Every other card is freaking replaceable. That's high series. And it's a super small sample size, except that this is a proven archetype. We know this works because Ika has built and played this for freaking ever. All right, so you can find Ika at twitter.com/Ikas_show. He also has a Twitch. It's Ika_MTS. But as you're watching this, Ika's moving across the world to Canada. So I hope you have safe travels, my friend, and we'll collaborate more when you get there. But for now, check out his Twitter, and then you can join his Twitch after that. So Annie is the only high series needed. Nico and Nebula can be Iceman, Spider-Man, Sunspot, Ant-Man, whatever. Jeff, I want a Valkyrie in this list pretty badly. I couldn't figure out how to fit it. I'm going to ask Ika. Just, he's sort of busy moving across the world. Jeff can be Nightcrawler. Widow can be any 2/5 to 2/6. Think your Medusas, so on. Maybe even a U.S. agent if you have it. Your other option is Scarlet Witch because locations are important to change, especially at the end of the game. Red Guardian is great. I would change it for Shang. Just straight up. Gladiator and Rogue makes some sense too. You need Annie. Maybe Red Guardian could be that Valkyrie spot. I really do want a Valkyrie spot. Valkyrie is just lane winning. I'm winning a lot with Valkyrie right now. So Ika's in the top 50, and this has again been one of her most successful decks ever. It's also really easy to play. So turn 1, you want a Nebula. I will Hood over Nebula if two things are true. 1, I have Annihilus. 2, I on turn 2 I don't have a 2-drop, so I can go Demon and Nebula on turn 2. Turn 2, I want Widow. Pretty early in this. I will occasionally play Armor if I have Sentry and Annihilus already, so I want to protect that Sentry, and that's better than Jeff. Turn 3, I'd almost always prefer that Cosmo to Red Guardian, unless there's a specific Red Guardian target. I don't like just dropping Red Guardian 2, because then later in the game they drop something that you'd really like to freaking Red Guardian, right? They also occasionally drop something you really like to Cosmo, but you should be able to, by turn 3, read enough of their deck to know that. If the opponent has played nothing on turn 1 or 2, hold your Cosmo. They are fairly likely to do something like drop a Wong or a Magic on turn 3, and if they do, you're going to be real sad if you don't have that Cosmo. You do drop that Cosmo on 3 fairly often, though, to play that Sentry when you don't have Annihilus, because now you have a 13 power lane that is protected. Turn 5, you want a Black Bolt, so turn 6, you can play Annie and Stature, and if you don't need to Annie because you didn't do the Sentry thing, you're going to drop a Wide, you're going to drop a Hood, you're going to drop that Widow's Bite late, because now you just dropped a sudden 2/6, you're going to do all that stuff late. You have a 1/6, a 2/6, another 1/6, right? So now all of a sudden you're just dropping crazy power to end the game all over the board without like having telegraphed where it goes. One last look at this genuine thing of beauty. For anyone who missed, because I don't think I explained it, why I want Valkyrie. If they filled a lane, if they're not going to play a lane, and you Valkyrie it, Nebula will get that power, I believe, after Valkyrie. But the real reason is Hood and Void lose you priority a lot, right? So if you Valkyrie that lane that they're trying to fill and then drop Demon, right? You've got more power than they do in that lane, and you win that lane, or drop Stature, I guess, as the case may be. It's awesome, and I really wish it was in the deck. I'll figure it out. Again, when Ika's done traveling, we'll figure that out. All right. That's it for today's video. Certain tiers of support come with on-air thanks from our Patreon. I'd like to thank Abigail E. Kiesland, Mandatory Burnout Cables, David G. Wingfield, Direwolf, LAB. Also, thank you for the kind words yesterday, LAB. Fathor Newman, who's having a really rough time, and we send our love. Check him out on YouTube. Tell him I sent you, and I say hey. Good Dog Gamer, who just featured a deck. Ink. Jane Avery, who, again, this month was his first month hitting Infinite. JD McDonaldino, who just won a King of the Hill tournament. Kertix Lee. Koirei, who's on his way to Infinite. It's happening, bud. Pyrophoros, the Goat Seeker. Danman Falcon, check him out on YouTube. Doku, Philip Brakovich, who we just heard from this video. Haplo, Kenny Loggins of the Danger Zone. Rob Silverman, Juan Diego Lebed, The Bizzo, X-Force V, and Skippy G. Tommy Nyquist, the Snap Judgments League Season 1 champion. Black Dahlia, The Great Kazoo, Jessica Gamble, Ryan Wood, Kev Sihora, Luna Chris, my former student Louis Antunes, Mod Supreme Models. Welcome aboard, Brian Kaufman, thank you for joining. Fuzzy Dunlap, who just joined this week, and Spectrumix, who just joined this week. One more welcome for you guys as well. Hoot. Matt H, DJ Mikey Hijinks, No Flex, who's all flex, Ocularis, Craig Sterry, Pretty Damn Chill, Seamus, hi Seamus, Spike Jones, check him out on YouTube, Two Ties, The Pirate King, Tucker, who you should check out on all social media, the homie Min, Rito in Disguise, who's coaching up a storm in our Snap Judgments League Discord. Like, he's going to have to start a Patreon and get paid for this too. And then, of course, Gunny T, where the T stands for I'm late for the podcast with Gunny T. Thanks for watching. I'm genuinely late for this podcast. Sub, like, comment, hit that Patreon up if you're interested, and I'll see you tomorrow for the podcast and then Sunday for some more Snap Take, because no days off, friends. Peace.